Welcome to Visionary Voices. This podcast aims to explore the stories of my friends who are blind or visually impaired from their perspective. Feel free, if you wish, to grab your beverage of choice, sit back, relax, and enjoy the stimulating conversation. Good evening, and welcome to episode 3 of Visionary Voices. My guest this time around is Trent Ferguson. Trent, go ahead and give listeners a brief introduction.
Well, Jessica, first and foremost, thanks for having me on. As she said, I'm Trent Ferguson. I'm a graduate of the Florida School for the Deaf and Blind in St. Augustine. I graduated in 2017, so it was 7 years ago now. For 5 years, I worked in radio. I was the assistant news director for News Radio WNZF up in Bunnell, Florida. I was also their weekday morning sports anchor, co-hosted a Saturday morning sports talk show called Out of Sight Sports, pun intended, and was a member of their high school football broadcast team. I played all these roles until I left the station in 2022. Then I decided to go to the University of South Florida to pursue my BA degree in mass communications. I'm doing well in that program. If all goes according to plan, I'll graduate in May of 2025, or I'm sorry, in August of 2025. So that's the after the summer term. So I'm excited about that. And overall, just I love music. I've been a drummer for most of my life. I started taking lessons when I was 6, and still play not as much these days, but when I can get behind a kit, I always love to jam out. And I've played professionally with my grandfather's band for a little while, so just like to do as many things as possible. And yes, I am blind, but I never let it stop me.
Wow, that's excellent. Can you share your journey and what inspired you to become an advocate for the visually impaired community?
So I have observed many visually impaired folks over my lifetime. As I said, I went to the Florida School for the Deaf and Blind, and realized that some, needed some help, and I wanted to help them as best as possible. So I did all that I could. I actually was a tutor during my senior year of high school. I went to the school was a boarding school, so they had dorms all over campus. So dorms for really each grade level, and then they had a set of apartments at the front of campus for seniors. So what I ended up doing was I actually assisted the elementary dorm with homework and also independent living skills. Like I taught people how to make a bed, taught people how to fold and do different things like that. And then that really inspired me to educate sighted people about what visually impaired people go through, and how we learn different things, how we learn how to, cross the street and, cook meals in our homes and things of that nature. So really, that was kind of the catalyst. Me being a tutor kind of was the catalyst for me wanting to really educate those whenever I'm able to.
Wonderful. What are some of the biggest challenges you've faced as a visually impaired person, and how have you overcome them?
One of the biggest challenges I faced is having to take a couple of video classes at the University of South Florida here in Tampa, because with me being blind, I don't know much about video. I'm not afraid to admit that. However, after I've taken these classes, one's in progress, but I took one fully in the spring. I tend to know a little bit more about it. So I took an electronic field production class back in the spring of this year, so 2024. The professor's name was Ryan Watson. That I would also say my computer and the JAWS screen reader is crucial to many things that I do, because I use it to, do the similar things on my iPhone, but also type up documents and sign documents when I need to, and even read the newspaper. Yeah, a lot of times, reading the newspaper to me is easier on the computer than it is my iPhone. So I typically like to do that, and it's just many of those things that sighted people may take for granted. If I didn't have those, I might be in trouble.
Wow, that's wonderful. Yes. I agree. Can you tell us about a memorable experience or achievement that you're especially proud of?
Oh man, that's tough. Uh, I would say that I'm really proud of being a member of the high school football broadcast team for WNZF when I because it's definitely interesting watching sports and not being able to see it. Like I've been a football fan for most of my life, but I've also been blind my entire life, so I haven't seen a football field. I'm not sure what a football field looks like visually. However, I know the game well enough to be able to understand it and to be able to understand the different formations. So for example, I know what's happening when the play-by-play person says here comes a blitz, on third down because I've listened to football games for so long. Or I know I know what people are talking about when they say the ball is handed off to the running back and they run for about 3 or 4 yards. I know about how far 3 or 4 yards is from just number one, being on a football field, and number two, listening to it for my entire life. Because when we were in PE, I asked the PE teacher on several occasions if she would take me out to the football field and allow me to jog/run it for a little while because I wanted to kind of get the dimensions of the field, and I wanted to be able to kind of know how far apart each yard marker was. So she was very patient enough. She showed me how to do that, and of course I know what a football feels like, so I know what it's like to throw a ball. So that's how I really was able to succeed in that job because I was able to, the play-by-play man would say the kind of defense that was playing, and then, along with listening to other games and talking to coaches and stuff before each game, I was able to really get a grasp of how the team played, what kind of defenses they played, what kind of plays they ran on a daily basis, and it really helped me. So I will always be grateful for that opportunity. I would say that's my proudest achievement that I can think of thus far.
Wow, that's amazing. What advice would you give to someone who is newly diagnosed with a visual impairment?
There are two things. One, give yourself grace. It's going to take a while to learn something, especially if you've had your sight. So, don't be too hard on yourself. Be patient. It'll be okay. Talk to people, talk to other visually impaired people, talk to the resources that your ophthalmologist or whoever, depending on if you're signed up with an organization for the blind, take advantage of those resources because they are there to help you and they're there to help you grow and get used to life. And number two, have other people be patient with you. They shouldn't think less of you just because you're losing your sight. You can still be independent. Just have them, teach you as much as they can, and if they need help, lean on those resources that I mentioned before. So those would be the two things that I would say. Personally speaking, I cannot fathom what it would be like having sight and then losing it later in life, only because I've never had it. So I don't know what life is like with it to be able to really answer that question. But just lean on the resources because they're there for you.
Oh, absolutely. Great advice. How do you stay motivated and maintain a positive mindset despite the challenges you face?
You have to tell yourself that the only one that can stop you is you. The sky's the limit. You can do anything you put your mind to. I have a friend of mine. His name is Enrique Alou. He's the Spanish color commentator for the Tampa Bay Rays. He's also totally blind. So, he's been blind since birth as well. So I look up to him. He didn't let anything stop him. He got a college degree. He's been announcing for the Rays for several years now, since their inception, I believe, in 1998. And he also has a day job working in communications. So he's terrific. He's always told me to never make excuses. He's motivated me when I've needed it, and always have, and he's been a mentor and a friend of mine. So have positive people in your life who will motivate you, I would say. And then also just think about the finished product. Like if you're working on a project, right? And you're going, oh no, I don't know where to take this. I'm, dumbfounded. I don't know how to do this. I'm messed up. I'm not going to be able to do this. It's over. It's going to be bad. Take a deep breath, step aside, and think about all the things you've done in the past, and then that will motivate you. And think about the feeling that you will feel inside you when that project gets done and it's a masterpiece. So look toward the light at the end of the tunnel rather than getting caught up in feelings that you have.
Yes, wonderful words of wisdom there, for sure. What changes would you like to see in society to better support visually impaired individuals?
There are a couple things. I would love to see more accessible pedestrian signals. Whenever I'm walking down the street and when I get to a controlled intersection, there are a lot of those signals that don't work and they're non existent among other intersections as well. So I would love to see more of those as far as like from a travel standpoint, orientation and mobility. As far as other facets of society, I would like for sighted people to be able to treat blind people as just normal people. I don't want to be known as Trent, who's blind. I want to be known as Trent Ferguson, the radio broadcaster. I want to be known as a good communicator. I want to be known as a decent human being and, just somebody who is productive. I don't want to be front loaded with, oh, he's blind. He's doing all of this blind. Also, I think sighted people get the misconception, and I think Wayne Garcia said it best on the documentary that I produced. People often think that just because we're blind, we have to work harder. And that's true to a certain degree. But then again, we just want to work hard to succeed. It There shouldn't be any correlation between working hard and eyesight. I know sighted people who bust their rear end on a daily basis, and they can see and they're doing things in the world. So why are blind people put under that umbrella? I don't understand. So I would say those are the two things that I would love to see change. And we've come a long way, but there's still lots of work to be done.
For sure, yes. Can you discuss any projects or initiatives you're currently working on that aim to improve the lives of visually impaired people?
I actually produced a podcast called Living in a Sighted World. It's podcast one of maybe a 2 or 3 part series. I haven't fully decided yet in my radio and podcasting class. And the first episode was called Traveling from Point A to Point B. And it focused on orientation and mobility and the practice of crossing streets and navigating various terrain while being totally blind. So I spoke with Diane Luce from the Tampa Lighthouse for the Blind and Low Vision. She touched on a number of different things, crossing streets safely, the practices that sighted people can take to, make sure that they don't distract or hinder the safety of blind people while crossing the street, as well as, we talked about, we gave a little advice to drivers and people in cars about saying, hey, look, you have to watch out for the white cane, follow the rules of the road, and move forward. So that's one podcast I'm going to do. I'm working on another one, posing the question: should people Uber or should they not? Focusing on service animals and how Uber deals with those, and unfortunately the mishaps that people have dealt with. For instance, not being picked up because they had a service dog, and some detrimental things like that. And I'm going to also feature maybe goalball in my third podcast, a sport for the blind. So just something like that. And then also just educating as many sighted people as I can, as many people that I run into along the way about blindness, and making sure that they clearly have an idea of what we're capable of and the fact that we're not superheroes, we're just normal people.
Oh, definitely. You mentioned a second ago goalball. I love goalball. I don't get to play it very often, but when I do, I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I played it in PE. I never played on a formal team, but I've watched several goalball matches, and yeah, they're fun. I love them. That's not a sport where you're looking at your watch. You know, maybe during a baseball game, you're like, "What time is it?" There's a lull in the game. Pitchers are making pitching changes, but during a goalball game, I'm never looking at my phone. I'm always sitting there, fully engaged. I'm always anticipating the next big moment. Goalball, I agree with you, is one of my favorite sports.
It is, it's super fast paced. How can people without visual impairments become better allies and supporters of the visually impaired community?
I would say maybe educating themselves. You can point them in the right direction, but you can't make them do the job. It's kind of like the old saying goes: you can lead somebody to water, but you can't make them drink. They have to be they have to be the ones to want to take the initiative and want to learn more about people who are blind and visually impaired. And I think people can do that if they take the proper steps in educating themselves, as well as just being there for someone who is blind or visually impaired. If you can lend a hand, I encourage you, sighted or not, to be able to do so. Something that I always appreciate is when my sighted friends are always willing to drive me places. Even though Uber is out there, and public transit is out there. Those are great resources, but it's also nice to have somebody drive you someplace if you can make it happen. You get the time with them in the car. You get to catch up. You get to do all these things, and so just I would say lend a hand when possible, and just you know be there when you're needed.
Certainly. What are your hopes and aspirations for the future, both personally and for the visually impaired community as a whole?
Well, personally speaking, I hope to end up in the Tampa Bay area. I love Tampa. It's really nice. It's a great city, with the exception of when there's storms. As far as that goes, I'm really into the radio market down here. Hope to ultimately secure a job and make this my home, as well as as far as for the impaired, just kind of what I said earlier. It's all about education. It's all about making sure that sighted people know what they're talking about, and realize, again, we're not superheroes. We're just normal people, and we shouldn't be treated like normal people. We should be treated equally like everybody else in society. We are all hard workers, and I would love to see more of the blind and visually impaired community work hard and reach their potential, because nothing should stop them.
Absolutely. What would you say is your greatest accomplishment and why?
I would say graduating with my AA degree with a 4.0. Going through college with a 4.0 is not easy whatsoever. So I've been able to do that, and I still have my 4.0 GPA to this day. Knocking on wood, I keep it. But if I don't, it was a great run of having a 4.0. But, going through college, I paying out of pocket, being able to go through college, get my degree, and keep the grades up while working at WNZF the way I did, I would say it was quite an accomplishment, because it wasn't easy. Frankly, it was a lot of long nights, but I wouldn't have it any other way, because I was able to accomplish it. And another side note to that would be being the commencement speaker at my graduation. I'll never forget that. The dean of students, I'd actually apply to be the commencement speaker. I had to go in. They had to help me revise my speech. They had to make sure that it was all set in stone. And I had to practice with the judges and the panel who decided, and to really get that email on the Monday after Easter of 2022 was just incredible. It made me say that all that practice and all that time working on it paid off.
Oh my goodness, that's impressive. Wow. Is that something that you can share? Because I would love to hear that.
Yeah, I have to go on YouTube and find it, but as soon as I can locate it, yeah, I'll send it to you.
Please do. Oh my goodness. That's a huge honor. Well, Trent, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Jessica. I really appreciate it, and thank you, the listener, for listening. And hey, I give you this advice: be kind to each other, stay strong, don't make excuses, and do what you have to do.
Yes. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you to those who have subscribed to the podcast and downloaded thus far. Keep it coming.